Alright guys, so in this video we're going to talk a little bit about what's changed from Bootstrap 3 to Bootstrap 4. And we're also going to talk a tiny bit about some of the small changes from Alpha 6 to version 4 Beta, which is the latest version, and that's the version we'll be using in this course. So one of the main changes from 3 to 4 is the use of Sass, which is a CSS precompiler. Bootstrap 3 used Less, which was another precompiler. Now in version 3 there was a Sass port that was created and maintained, but it did use Less by default. So Bootstrap 4 has completely scrapped Less and went with Sass. And I think the reason is because recently developers have taken more of a liking to Sass over Less. Alright, Bootstrap uses a C++ implementation of a Sass compiler called libsass, which is extremely fast. So there's also been some changes to the look and feel of Bootstrap 4. If you look at the buttons, they have a flatter style over the slight gradient that version 3 used. There's also more color classes. Now the light and the dark class that you see at the end here, these were actually added in version 4 beta. These were not available in Alpha 6. Alright, just to let you know that. We also have the new outline classes where we basically have a transparent background and then we have the base color for the border and the text. So Bootstrap 4 also has an improved grid system and layout. Most of the changes are in the underlying architecture, so it uses rem and m units now instead of pixels. This makes it more responsive. There's also a new XL tier for extra large screens. Okay, so now you have your SM, your MD, LG, and now you have XL for extra large screens. Alright, the grid now uses Flexbox, which gives us better control over alignments and so on. One thing that's no longer used is the offset classes. We now use our margin auto classes like ML auto and MR auto, and you'll learn about these in some of the other spacing classes throughout the course. Alright, another huge change is just the use of Flexbox in general, not just in the grid. We now have special classes to manage grids, navigation, components, and more. We have display utilities that can transform children items into flex items. All we have to do is create a flex container, is add the class of dflex, and then we can apply all the alignments and justify classes like you could in just regular Flexbox. Alright, so cards have replaced panels and wells. There's a huge variety of how you can make cards look. It can be as simple as what a well used to look like with just a border and some padding, but you can also add images, headers, footers, tabs, etc. Cards also use Flexbox. They were created to use as little markup as possible. You can use the card body class, which will take place of the well class that Bootstrap 3 had. It'll give you your border and your padding. Now, if you've used Bootstrap 4 Alpha, card block no longer exists. It's now card body. Okay, so just remember that. There's also classes like card title and card header, card footer, and you can really make these cards look very different. Alright, now there's also been changes to the nav bar. It has a flatter design, a flatter look. It uses Flexbox instead of floats. We use the class navbar as well as navbar expand to make it responsive at certain breakpoints. So for example, we could do navbar expand -SM. That would make it so that the little hamburger menu displays when it's on small screens. But you could set it to MD so it displays on medium screens, LG, XL, and so on. And then another thing to take note is that if you've used Bootstrap 4 Alpha, Alpha 6, this used to be navbar toggler, okay, or toggleable. It's now navbar expand, so that's just something to take note if you've been using Alpha 6. Alright, we also have a lot more color schemes, so these are just some of them. We have, BG dark, BG light, we have BG primary, which will give you the blue color. We have BG danger, which will give you a red nav bar. You can use all the different contextual color classes for your navs, which is really cool. So for forms, the form horizontal class has been completely dropped. Forms using grids require the row class, and we can also use the call form label class for labels. We have form control LG and form control SM to create large and small inputs. and the class help block has been changed to form text. All right, so some of the other changes to note. There's now bigger fonts and headings. We have 4 new heading classes or display classes, which are really nice. Bootstrap 4 drops support for IE 8 and IE 9. Version 4 uses something called Reboot, which builds on to the normalized CSS, providing many elements with somewhat opinionated styles using only selectors. We also have an inverse table class for dark tables. And Bootstrap 4 has completely dropped glyphicons. It's now recommended to use Font Awesome, which was a much better library anyways. And then we also have some really nice new sizing and spacing classes. All right, so there's some really cool things to get into in Bootstrap 4. I really think you'll like it, and we're going to go through all that in this course. So that's it. I will see you in the next video.